Earlier this year, we reported on one of the most remarkable and mysterious migrations in the natural world happening every spring from Mexico to the United States. Tens of millions of monarch butterflies are on an epic aerial journey home. They've spent the winter hanging out in trees in a forest on a remote mountain in Mexico, resting up after flying all the way from Canada and the northern US where they were born. It's believed monarchs have been making this journey for thousands of years, but there's a lot fewer of them than there used to be. The population in Mexico has declined 70% in the last 30 years. We arrived there in February, just in time to watch the monarchs emerge from their slumber and begin to take flight. The monarchs come to these mountains in Michoacan in central Mexico starting in late October. Do you still get excited going up to see them?
Every time. There's no substitute.
One of our guides, Jorge Ricards, is the director of the nonprofit World Wildlife Fund in Mexico.
We're going to leave the horses, walk a little bit, very, very carefully and very quietly so we won't disturb the butterflies.
The monarchs roost in patches of fir and pine trees 11,000 feet up. There are some 66 million of them here, but it's hard to see them at first. There are what appear to be clumps of dead leaves hanging from sagging branches. But those are butterflies, tens of thousands of them clustered together in trees all around. There's so many of them on the branches of the trees that the branches are all pointing toward the ground.
Imagine the lightness of a butterfly, and there are so many of them here that they actually bend the trees. And they like the firs because they have so many little leaves or spicules, so there's lots of surface to cling on to.
The monarchs are in a kind of hibernation. On the way here, they've fattened up on nectar, which helps them survive and rest through the long winter months. The climate on this mountain is ideal. The canopy of trees protects the butterflies from storms, and though the air is cool, it's relatively humid, so they stay hydrated. The clusters are so drab when you're looking at them because they have their wings closed.
In many butterflies, on the underside is drab or less lightly colored, and that happens in nature a lot. So it's not very inviting. It wouldn't be inviting to a predator.
Why are we whispering?
They are very sensitive to sound. They are also sensitive to CO2. So the less we talk, the better. They relate that with a predator, as other mammal.
So they can sense like a mouse breathing.
Or a bird.
A bird breathing.
That is right.
On the forest floor all around us, monarchs litter the ground. But most are not dead. They've just fallen from trees during the night, and their muscles are too cold for them to fly. Cup them in your hands, you can revive them with your breath.
So they need a certain temperature to get their wing muscles back. They are very, very vulnerable when they're on the floor. And the birds know that, and the mice know that. That's almost ready. There you go.
Come on, little buddy.
Maybe a little more. There you go. Yeah, he likes you.
Wow. When the sun begins to hit the trees, flashes of orange appear. The monarchs are warming and slowly opening their wings.
Really, as the day warms up, we're going to see more activity. So
Court Whalen has been bringing tour groups here and photographing monarchs for more than 20 years. He shows us a spot where some butterflies have taken flight. Then, after a few minutes, suddenly, the air is filled with them.
This is extraordinary.
This is it. This is what it's all about. This is, nature knows when to put on a show, huh? And how to put on a show.
Why have they all now just suddenly taken off?
So it's a warm day. We're getting a lot of sunlight, so we're just ramping up, ramping up.
I mean, what's insane is it's not just over here, it's over there, it's over there. I mean...
it's extraordinary. But yeah, it's all the heat and it's all the sun.
You can actually hear the sound of butterfly wings.
Yeah.
Let's just be quiet for a second. Look at that. Look at that up there.
Oh my gosh. Whoa. This is about as good as it possibly gets. It's like a snow globe of monarchs.
You got a butterfly on you.
Oh, there we go.
It's still something of a mystery how these monarchs manage to get here. Most only live about a month. They spend their short lives eating and mating, and females lay eggs. But in late summer and early fall, what's called a supergeneration of monarchs appear. Hatched as caterpillars, they transform into chrysalises, and then, after a week or two, emerge as butterflies. And that's when they do something extraordinary. With winter coming, they sense the shorter days and changing temperatures and suppress a key reproductive hormone, a process called diapause, which helps them conserve their energy and live up to 9 months, 9 times longer than most monarchs. It's crazy that there's this super generation of monarchs that can make it all the way,
It's
and then
amazing.
the rest die off after a month.
What is amazing is how they detonate this process of not developing sexual organs, but using that energy for the flight.
Monarchs born west of the Rockies stay there and migrate shorter distances. It's this supergeneration, born in Canada and east of the Rockies in the northern United States, that flies to Mexico. Hundreds of millions of them join up on a journey of some 3,000 miles, which can take them 3 months or longer. To help them find their way, monarchs have circadian clocks in their antennae and navigate using internal compasses that respond to the position of the sun and the Earth's magnetic field. Why are they coming here?
Well, that's a big mystery. Maybe it's a prehistoric route. Maybe it was determined by geographical conditions in terms of topography. Maybe it had to do with climate.
You're talking about multiple generations who all have this exact same instinct and know where to go and all go to the exact same spot.
That's one of the most magical things that can happen in the natural world. How do they know?
The monarchs were discovered by researchers on this mountain range in 1975, and the Mexican government declared the area a federal reserve 11 years later. But for decades, illegal logging threatened the butterflies' roosting spots, which once covered as much as 45 acres. It's now down to 4.5. World Wildlife Fund has spent years trying to combat the destruction, assessing the health of the forest, measuring the size of butterfly colonies, and planting trees. They've also worked with local communities and indigenous groups to protect the land and help them profit from tourism. The good news is the forest is rebounding.
Because it's just so unusual to see this. It's like almost an optical illusion because everything's beating at this weird frequency. It's like the whole world is kind of pulsing.
So what are they doing here?
Yeah, so this is kind of a classic mud puddling of monarch butterflies. So
Mud puddling?
Yeah, mud puddling. It's a real scientific term. So they're mainly after hydration, but butterflies are known to need some trace elements like salts and whatnot. And it doesn't look like much, but just this little bit of water in this mud puddle is enough for them to get some water, and then what will happen is they'll return to the roost before evening.
After about 4 months in Mexico, this super generation of monarchs are near the end of their long life cycle. They're finally ready to mate and migrate north to lay their eggs. They'll die before they can make it back to where they were born, and their offspring might not live long enough to get there either, but future generations will, and there's an army of people trying to help them. In Kansas, volunteers come out to catch and tag monarchs so scientists can track their migration.
Good job, Dave.
They're recruited by Chip Taylor, an 87-year-old ecologist who's been fascinated by monarchs since he was a child. There's over 100,000 species of butterflies and moths, but pretty much the only one people know are monarchs. What is it about monarch butterflies?
Well, monarchs have got charisma. I mean,
Wait a minute. Monarch butterflies have charisma?
well, yeah, they have charisma because they are accessible, they're large, they're beautiful, they're slow. You can catch them. It involves Canada, it involves Mexico.
Taylor founded a nonprofit called Monarch Watch at the University of Kansas 30 years ago.
Nice.
And so far, it's helped tag more than 2 million of them.
How do you tag a butterfly that's so delicate?
This is a rough butterfly, and it has to go thousands of miles. So it's a pretty tough butterfly.
It's resilient.
It's resilient.
But that resilience is being tested. Monarchs returning to the U.S. need milkweed plants to lay their eggs on. It's the only source of food their newly born caterpillars will eat. But milkweed is now hard to find. It's been virtually eradicated on agricultural land because of genetically modified corn and soybean crops that allow for mass spraying of herbicides. Monarch Watch encourages people to plant milkweed in their gardens and on public land, creating what they call monarch way stations. 50,000 of them have been planted so far. In Mexico, those efforts have gotten noticed.
They are taking water.
Eduardo Rendon, head of World Wildlife Fund's Monarch Butterfly Program, showed us a tag he recently found.
So this is one of the tags from Monarch Watch from Chip Taylor.
Exactly. I find maybe 12 meters for over here. Yeah, I was measuring the colony and then I see the ground and I find this tag. But it's the only way that we can to prove that monarch from United States and Canada come here to overwinter.
Less than 20% of the monarchs that head out on this miraculous migration actually make it to the mountains of Michoacan. Scientists say worsening storms and rising temperatures kill off many, though this past year the number of monarchs that survived the trip nearly doubled. It was particularly welcome news in Mexico, where the butterfly's arrival in late October coincides with a deeply spiritual celebration, what's known as the Day of the Dead. That's when many here believe the souls of family and friends who died return to visit their loved ones. And so that's why the butterflies are returning as well.
Local people believe that the monarchs are the returning spirits of...
That is correct.
Of the dead.
That is correct, yes. So who knows, maybe you are reviving, you're helping someone's ancestor fly back. Yes, indeed. So it's very magical.
For years, mezcal sat in the shadow of its popular cousin tequila, known for its worm and deemed too smoky for a spot on the same shelf as premium spirits. But not anymore. Once banned and later sold in plastic jugs for pennies, the handcrafted spirit has found its way into cocktail bars and Michelin-starred restaurants. No other liquor has seen a greater increase in production in the past decade. Mezcal gets its name from the Aztec word for cooked agave, a thorny plant sacred to Mexico for thousands of years. The vast majority of mezcal is made in the southern state of Oaxaca, where family-owned distilleries dot the landscape. We went to meet the Mezcaleros as they labor to quench the world's thirst for mezcal. Mezcaleros harvest agave year-round, but it's no low-hanging fruit. Pried from the earth, the spikes are removed by machete, revealing the heart, the piña, which looks like a 100-pound pineapple. Agave takes its sweet time to ripen, up to 30 years for some varieties. It grows in the valleys that run between the Sierra Madre Mountains, here in Oaxaca. The crossroads of indigenous and Spanish colonial cultures, the birthplace of mezcal. And Santiago Matatlan is its cradle. The Hernandez brothers, Armando and Alvaro, are fourth-generation mezcaleros from an indigenous Zapotec family. They learned the craft from their father, Silverio. Today they run Mal de Amor, one of Matatlan's largest distilleries, or palenques.
Nosotros hacemos el mezcal sin prisa.
We make mezcal without hurry, meaning everything in its time.
No metemos nada.
We don't add or do anything to speed up production, but we make it nonstop, 365 days a year, the entire day.
Is it different from the way your father made it?
No,
No, it's the same.
todo, la tradición, lo que...
We conserve all the traditions, everything we were taught, and everything is done by hand.
Agave was first distilled here in the 1600s. Mexicans have been drinking mezcal at baptisms, funerals, and every occasion in between ever since. And let's clear this up early. Tequila is a type of mezcal, made with blue agave, mostly in the state of Jalisco. But most tequila has been mass-produced, made by machines since the 70s. Artisanal mezcal resists machinery. The agave is roasted in underground pits for days. Then it's crushed by horse-drawn mill. The mash is fermented in wooden barrels and distilled twice in copper vats. No temperature dials or controls. Bubbles indicate the alcohol content. Who knows more about the process?
Él conoce más.
I think he may know more,
Yo puedo tomar más.
but I drink it more.
At Mal de Amor, they offer Napa-style tours of their agave fields. Mezcal is now a $500 million a year industry. But in the 1980s and 90s, Armando and Alvaro told us production of mezcal could barely support the family.
El precio del maguey,
The price of mezcal was very low. It was miserable.
What was it?
7 pesos un litro de mezcal.
7 pesos for a liter of mezcal.
Less than $1.
Entonces, nosotros fuimos 10 hijos.
And we were 10 children. Sunday was the only day we could afford a cup of milk and a piece of bread.
No, vámonos.
So we decided to go.
Armando left Mexico first, alone, bound for California.
Do you remember the day you left?
Sí, 3 de diciembre.
Yes. It was the 3rd of December, 1992. I was 12 years old.
Yo ahorita tengo hijos y no.
I have children of my own now, and I could never bring myself to let them cross the border alone. It was a sad goodbye,
Duele mucho dejar a la...
very painful to leave the family behind.
How did you get there?
Como todo migrante.
Con un coyote.
Con un coyote.
Like all migrants, with a coyote, smuggled across the border.
Alvaro eventually joined him in Los Angeles. They spent a decade working in bars and restaurants. When the plot twisted, artisanal became hip, and mezcal's popularity boomed. Alvaro began to dream about returning to the family business.
Ya cuando demostraba...
I had plans drawn up for the palenque, and I showed Armando.
Álvaro llegaba con un plano de su palenque.
Alvaro came in with the plan for his palenque, and he spread it on the bed and said, I'm going to do this.
Oye, Álvaro, estás loco.
And I told him, you're crazy. How are you going to make a living?
Armando was skeptical until he noticed shots of mezcal going for $10 each. He says he looked down at the label on a bottle one day, and it was from their hometown.
And you finally told your brother, I told you so.
Te dije, tonto.
So Armando and Alvaro went back home to ramp up the family palenque. Enter John Rexer and Gilberto Marquez of the mezcal brand Ilegal, made from 100% espadín, a variety of agave that ripens the fastest.
So how far out does the illegal agave go? I mean, is this all illegal?
Yeah, there's about 2,500 plants per acre. There's about 5 acres out here.
This is a lot of espadín, right?
Today, Ilegal is one of the top-selling mezcal brands. But it too started humbly. Rexer, an expat New Yorker, was in search of a steady supply of mezcal to serve at a bar he owned in Guatemala.
I would take a bus up from Guatemala. It's a 24-hour bus ride. Along the way, you can pull a string in that bus and say, I want to stop here. Walk to a village, wait until lights came on somewhere and say, hey, do you know anybody who makes good mezcal around here? And invariably, someone would have an uncle, a brother, a cousin.
Tengo un tío.
Tengo un tío. Sí, yeah, that's exactly it.
Everybody has an uncle.
As the name on the bottle suggests, Rexer's operation wasn't exactly legal.
Is it true that you once dressed like a priest to have to get this across a border?
Listen, I went through 12 years of Catholic school.
Me too.
I knew how to play the role.
It was his friend, Gilberto Marquez, who introduced him to the Hernandez brothers.
And we rolled down here, and it was very, very, very tiny, and they were making very small amounts.
Me dice, ¿tienes más de este mezcal? Digo, sí.
And he asks me, do you have more of this mezcal? And we said, yes, we have 10,000 liters, and it took us like 2 years to make. And John says to us, I want it all.
A sidebar, and this may go without saying, but Rexer has swigged his fair share of mezcal.
Excuse me.
Do you want a water? Yeah, no, take a break, you're good. Just like, do I want a water?
You know, there's an expression, the best mezcal is the one in front of you. It's not entirely true. You don't want to cover it in smoke. You want to taste the agave.
A lot of people say they don't like mezcal because of the smoke.
Obviously, you're in a smoky environment, right? When you dig up the pit oven, there's smoke everywhere. So there's a lot of early mezcals that came into the States that are heavy smoked.
Has mezcal gotten a bad rap on that front?
I think in the early days it did, but people began to discover, no, the agaves have particular unique flavors.
Rexer asked brothers Armando and Alvaro to go into business, and he made a promise. If they could produce the mezcal, he'd sell it around the world. They'd been burned by false promises before, so they weighed his offer in their native language.
You spoke in Zapotec so he wouldn't understand?
I said to Alvaro in Zapotec, do you believe him? And he said, I don't know. But we figured, let's see.
I said, listen, I'll pay you up front so that we can get started.
2 días después teníamos el depósito.
2 days later, we had the deposit in our account for all 10,000 liters. He said, each month I'll keep making deposits. So we made more, 500 liters, 1,000, 2,000, and it grew like that.
Now their partnership produces 3,000 bottles of mezcal a day, almost all of them for export. And every bottle is certified by the Mexican government, stamped with a hologram to mark denomination of origin, like champagne or cognac. We'd heard there are rules about how to drink this artisanal mezcal. The good stuff isn't for shots or diluting in cocktails. It's for sipping. So we asked Marquez, the former bartender who now promotes Ilegal.
Favorite way to drink it?
Spicy margarita.
Oh, wait a second. I thought you weren't supposed to drink mezcal in a margarita.
You do want to enjoy mezcal neat, but there's nothing wrong with having it in a cocktail, especially if we're trying to get folks to try it for the first time. It's an introduction to mezcal.
Marquez poured us a joven, the colorless mezcal you'll find in most bottles.
This is 100% espadín.
So joven means young.
Joven means young, unaged.
Salud.
Salud.
This one tastes spicy to me.
So smoke is not the first thing that you taste?
It's definitely there, but I would not call this smoky.
Yes.
Aging mezcal is a Mexican tradition. Ilegal does it in American oak, the same way bourbon is made.
So this is the añejo, and this is aged 15 months.
Color's definitely darker.
Yep.
Wow, so good. How would you drink this one?
Absolutely neat, 100%.
Has anyone ever said to you, hey, what's a gringo like you doing
In a place
selling
like this?
Oaxaca,
Yeah.
Oaxacan mezcal?
Yes, I've gotten pushback over the years, you're a foreigner. But I'm someone who fell in love with the rhythm and the pace of Oaxaca and fell in love with mezcal.
He's no longer the only foreigner in this partnership. Bacardi, the largest privately held global spirits company, acquired Ilegal last year in a deal worth a reported $100 million.
When we started to grow the brand, one of the questions I asked myself was, how do you fall in love with something and then not destroy the thing you fell in love with by making it grow?
Can you do that with an international conglomerate like Bacardi?
I think it's a great question because it's not just the beautiful liquor, but it's certain things that we're trying to preserve and believe in. This is a family business. We have to respect the artisanal production. We can never let this become industrial.
What does the deal with Bacardi mean for you?
Pues lo que va a cambiar es la vida de muchos.
What's going to change is many people's lives in this community.
Es un beneficio a la comunidad.
It's a benefit for the whole community.
The Palenque now employs 100 people from Matatlan and beyond, including their 87-year-old father, the Mezcalero Emeritus.
Que se siente en la silla de...
Armando and Alvaro translated from Zapotec to Spanish. We asked what Señor Hernandez thought of his son's mezcal.
Does it live up to the family name? See?
That's why I drink it. If not, I wouldn't drink it.
The Hernandez brothers are expanding the family Palenque. Construction is already underway.
So if there's the American dream, is this the Mexican dream?
Sueño mexicano.
Sueño mexicano.
Sí, ese sueño
It's the
mexicano,
Mexican dream.
Como te digo, jamás lo-
It's something we never
imaginamos.
imagined.
When we come back, how mezcal tourism in Oaxaca is helping to fuel the economy, even as some producers fear it's all moving a bit too fast. Oaxaca, a diverse patch of 4 million people on the southwest curl of Mexico's tail, may be one of the country's poorest states, but it boasts one of the fastest growing economies. Both pillars of that economy, agriculture and tourism, have been revitalized by the explosion in global demand for mezcal. Tens of thousands of Oaxacan families produce mezcal for a living, mostly in small, handcrafted batches. The deeper you travel into Oaxaca's countryside, the harder mezcaleros cling to their ancestral methods, and the louder they'll tell you there's a price to pay for this mezcal boom. Insulated by peaks and valleys, Oaxaca has its rugged terrain to thank for its diversity. The Zapotec people flourished here for nearly 1,000 years, their ancestral capital preserved at Monte Alban, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Oaxaca is home to 16 different indigenous groups, more than anywhere else in the country. The state capital, Oaxaca City, is a technicolor hub of markets and vendors, with its 16th century cathedral, Santo Domingo de Guzman, towering over the stone streets. On the coast, Puerto Escondido, the hidden port, draws surfers from around the world who come to ride a massive break in the Pacific called the Mexican Pipeline. Then there's the food. Oaxaca is called the land of 7 moles, after its rich stew made with dozens of ingredients. To wash it all down, hundreds of varieties of small batch mezcal, many made from wild agave. The most sought-after stuff is crafted deep in Oaxaca's rural communities and has tourists venturing out there. At the Real Minero Distillery, or Palenque, we met John Douglas, a bar owner who makes regular trips down from bourbon country, Kentucky.
So what gives?
It's delicious, and there's a story behind it, about flavor, about people, about histories, about, geez, how exactly is this made?
How many bottles you bring home?
Gosh, you're not the TSA, are you?
Here, the agave roast is a smoky, well-choreographed ballet. Everyone knows their part. And in charge, Graciela Angeles Carreño, a mezcalera with a reputation as a leader in the industry. Her family has been making mezcal since it was more bootleg than above board.
And your grandmother sold mezcal from the back of a burro.
So my great-grandfather produced the mezcal and my great-grandmother sold it. And why did she sell it? Because nobody inspected the women at the time. She made a special knock at the door, opened the door, and the woman with the donkey takes out her mezcal.
Opens her store.
The Carreño family distills in clay pots. 11,000 liters of mezcal a year, some 8,000 bottles. Many go for upwards of $100. Making artisanal mezcal is part science, part intuition, and it comes with a funk,
Hay mosquitos.
which we saw and smelled inside Carreño's fermentation room.
Right now it's not too fermented. You can put your mouth here and try it.
Muy amargo. Very bitter.
Sí, sí.
Sí.
Pero sientes el alcohol.
Así.
Yes, and you can taste the alcohol.
Sí, it tastes like beer. Yeah.
Carreño showed us how she knows when it's ready for the next step.
Si yo pongo mi oído.
¿Qué oyes?
Ahora escucha.
If I put my ear to it, listen. It's like a stomach.
Okay, it is like a stomach.
Sí.
Oh, wow. How much time left for this?
Yo creo como otros tal vez 4 días.
I think maybe another 4 days.
Aquí es donde se producen los sabores.
This is where the flavor comes.
Esto es como la parte mágica.
This is your magic.
Sí.
3 hours south of Oaxaca City, at the Perez family Palenque, we met Lalo Perez, a fifth-generation mezcalero. That's the next generation holding his hand. The whole family had just pulled an all-nighter, tending the fire for their roast. A community ritual Neighbors came by in the morning to help stack the piñas. And Lalo's father, Tío Teo, watched over.
How was the roast last night?
Around 8 in the morning, we finally started stacking the piñas.
Por eso tienes sueño, señor.
We joked about being beat from the night before, but Lalo says making mezcal doesn't feel like work.
From the moment I go out into the countryside to harvest agave, I feel like I want to taste it already.
You're smiling when you tell me this.
It's the joy that mezcal brings me. If you drink 5 glasses, it brings you even more joy.
Lalo walked us through his agave varieties with names like Madre Quiche and Tempestate. He told us each gives a unique taste: herbal, mineral, earthy. Tío Teo insisted we taste for ourselves and led us to his private stash where he keeps his prized batches.
Muy diferente. Sí, muy diferente. Wow. Tempestate is the winner.
Lalo has taken over most of the manual labor from his dad, using wooden mallets to crush the roasted agave. He distills batches of about 250 bottles at a time. But here's the thing. Mezcal produced by the Perez family can't technically be called mezcal. It is made in the right region using the right methods to qualify for denomination of origin. But Lalo told us he doesn't bother with the bureaucracy of getting it certified by government-approved regulators.
You don't put the word mezcal on your bottles to sell. Does that bother you?
On the contrary, to certify it, they practically tell you how to make your mezcal. An inspector comes and tells you, don't crush with wooden mallets. Water it down so that it'll pass lab tests, and then I'll certify it so you can sell it. We don't need a government certifier to come and tell us how to make mezcal.
There's no doubt in your mind that what's inside your bottles is mezcal.
Sí, es mezcal.
Maybe so, but Cinco Sentidos, the brand that bottles the Perez family's product for export, has to label the uncertified mezcal distilled agave. In bars around the world, that's become a selling point. Small batch enthusiasts clamor for obscure, limited-run bottles, and mezcal by any other name still smells as sweet. Graciela Carreño chose to drop denomination of origin 2 years ago. Her main focus now is her plants. Once you harvest agave, that's it.
This is not like grapes. The crop does not grow back each year.
You can only benefit from it once in its lifetime, and it takes 30 years to give you its best.
If mezcaleros obsess over their agave, it's because they're trying to avoid repeating tequila's mistakes. Overplanting of blue agave used in tequila has rendered that plant more susceptible to disease. Carreño says she worries the same could happen to mezcal's workhorse variety, Espadín.
It's like tequila, only with mezcal we plant espadín, only espadín. The irony is on the world market, what people want most is not espadín. It's wild agave.
But wild agave has its own problems. As production of mezcal has increased 700% from 10 years ago, some species of agave are vanishing. So Carreño germinates the seeds from 12 varieties in her nursery.
How concerned are you about the future of the agave plant in Oaxaca?
Where do I start? On the one hand, we have economic success because this spirit that came from our community is now served in the most famous bars in the world. That makes me happy and proud as a Mexican and Oaxacan. What worries me is the environmental cost, the cultural cost, because it will not be free. So I think the crossroads right now is recognizing that we need to slow down a little.
Carreño told us mezcal is a reminder to take a moment. So that's what we did.
Later I'll tell you the percentage of alcohol because these are not low grade.
Oh, really? What? How many am I going to be? Bien borracha?
No, the main point is not to get drunk. It's to enjoy it. One bottle and enjoy it.
Salud. Salud.
Bienvenida, Oaxaca.
Muchísimas gracias. Excelente.
The stopwatch has long been the symbol of 60 minutes, but any measure of time is pointless for the subject of our next story, the slow-moving sloth. You might think these distant relatives of the armadillo would make the perfect meal for just about anything faster. And yet somehow, sloths have been hanging on in one form or another for 64 million years. To understand this quirky animal, 60 Minutes hung out with a quirky zoologist. Lucy Cook has been documenting the strange lives of sloths for more than 15 years. Cook was Sharyn Alfonsi's guide on a trip to Costa Rica, where, as we first reported in 2023, scientists are making new discoveries about a creature that's turned survival of the fittest upside down.
This is an area where there are lots of sloths, so that we have that on our side.
The first thing we learned about sloths is that it's hard to spot them in the wild. We were warned to keep our eyes on the ground for poisonous snakes as Lucy Cook scanned the treetops. The sloth is a master of disguise. It blends into the canopy and can easily be mistaken for a tuft of leaves.
They tend to hunker down when it rains, so making it even harder to see them.
Our luck improved on the beach.
Oh, there's one up there. She's in the nook of the tree looking a bit like a termite hump. And she's hunched over, so what we're looking at is her back.
That is not the side of the sloth we went all the way to Central America to see. So Lucy Cook took us to an animal sanctuary to get a better view of the two species of sloth that live here, the bradipus and the two-toed.
So the two-toed, I always say, look like a cross between a Wookiee and a pig, because they've got that sort of beepable nose.
Yeah.
And then these ones have the sort of, Beatles haircuts and Mona Lisa smiles.
Behind that ringer for Ringo, Cook says, is a secret. Being nature's couch potato is the reason sloths have survived for more than 60 million years in spite of, well, themselves. Their eyesight is lousy, their hearing not much better. In a tree, they can move like a Tai Chi master to avoid the eyes of hungry birds of prey. But on the ground, Cook says gravity removes any shred of dignity. Even with a hurricane-strength tailwind, a sloth will top out at a half-mile per hour.
The first people that described the sloths, the conquistadors that first observed them, they said terrible things. One said it was the stupidest animal that he'd ever seen, and another said one more defect would make its life impossible, and they just didn't understand them,
Cook says what those early explorers didn't understand, and what is frankly hard to believe when you watch the effort it takes for a sloth just to blink, is that this hairy ninja is uniquely built to survive.
Why so slow? Why do they move so slow? Because they're saving energy. They're vegetarians, and leaves don't want to be eaten any more than antelope do, right? So they create a lot of toxins. So the sloth can digest those toxins, but only very, very slowly. They don't want to process them fast, and so they're all about burning as little energy as possible.
Sloths spend about 90% of their lives hanging upside down, and typically only climb to the ground for bathroom breaks once a week. With habits like that and nails like this, you can understand why they are solitary creatures and prefer to be alone until they don't.
What they do is the females will climb to the top of a tree when they're in heat and scream for sex. So really low key. Really low key. But they scream in D sharp. Okay. Like that's they make this, I'll do it. And he may well, on the strength of my impersonation, let's see if Teddy, who's a boy,
he swipes right.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Let's just see if he goes, okay, I'm going to do it. I've actually seen bradypuses having sex. It's the only thing they do quickly. I mean, I was shocked. But then afterwards, both male and female retreated and had the deepest snooze.
Behind Lucy Cook's cheeky sense of humor is a hefty resume. Mm-hmm. She has a master's degree from Oxford and published 4 books, including 2 on sloths. She's also hosted wildlife programs for the BBC and National Geographic. The photos Cook takes on her expeditions have gone viral, leading to donations for conservation and crowds at lectures that mix biology with stand-up.
We humans are obsessed with speed. We idolize animals like the cheetah, capable of doing 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat. Well, so what?
Are they cute or are they so ugly they're cute?
Oh, no, they're cute, surely. But then, I mean, I think a naked mole rat's cute, so you're asking the wrong person.
You like a B-list animal.
Yeah. Bats, hyenas. I mean, there's like a whole list of animals that I think, you know, just have extraordinarily strange and wonderful lives and just, to me, just add to the richness of the universe.
Just look how one of those B-list animals can leave Lucy Cook starstruck.
You guys have got to see this!
As we were making our way through the Costa Rican rainforest, Cook noticed this. What looks like fluffy golf balls, she realized was a cluster of something we'd never heard of.
Come and have a look, Sharyn.
The elusive Caribbean white tent-making bats.
Look, they're bats, but they're white, and they live in these leaves. Like, my heart rate's gone right up. I'm going to start pouring in sweat, and I might start crying, actually, because it's just so... I mean, it's just a miracle of evolution. I mean, it's just why? Like, why?
That sense of wonder...
That's about as exciting as it gets.
...has made Lucy Cook a compelling advocate for sloths. Like them, she looks at the world from a different point of view.
Your latest book is called...
Bitch. On the... I do apologize. I really like you and your work, but yeah, my book's called Bitch.
In it, Cook challenges the narrative that in the animal kingdom, males are usually dominant and promiscuous, while females are submissive and monogamous. She traveled the world to collaborate with scientists and study dozens of animals, reporting how killer whale pods are led by postmenopausal orcas and how tyrannical matriarchs control meerkat society. Her re-examination flips parts of Charles Darwin's theories upside down.
Charles Darwin's a hero of mine. I studied evolutionary biology, but he was a Victorian man. And so when he came to brand the female of the species, she came out in the shape of a Victorian housewife. Passive, coy, chaste. You know, we were sort of a feminine footnote to the macho main event, basically.
I can hear people saying, is this biological wokeness?
Well, it would be if it wasn't true. So you just have to ask the hyena, for example, the female spotted hyena, if she's passive and coy, and she'll laugh in your face after she's bitten it off. You know, it's like...
Challenging conventional wisdom is a large part of Lucy Cook's crusade to improve the reputation of sloths. But there is a more somber kind of rehabilitation she wanted to show us. This is the Toucan Rescue Ranch near Costa Rica's capital, San Jose.
So sloths are incredibly strong.
They care for sloths nearly killed by power lines.
How are the sloths injured? So most of the time it's through electrocution, where it'll just look like this straight vine, you know, going through the forest. And so they'll grab a hold of that and then become electrocuted.
Leslie Howe was an occupational therapist who started the ranch 19 years ago. Now she has a team of 6 veterinarians to treat the electrical burns. Millions of years of evolution could not prepare the sloths for human sprawl. But the vets told us they believe the sloth's slow metabolism somehow allows them to recover from injuries that might kill other creatures. The Toucan Rescue Ranch also takes in orphans.
This is little Geo, and this is Marilyn. And then we have Landon here.
Oh, he's a toddler?
He's a toddler. And this is our tiniest little Benji.
Okay, now my ovaries have cracked.
It can take up to 2 years for the orphans to be ready to go back into the wild. We watched as a female named Nasara was prepared for release. She was given a final checkup and a tracking collar before getting a lift to a promising tree.
Off she goes.
And if she falls asleep in the middle of the release, is that a bad thing?
There she goes.
Oh, ooh,
That's a scary moment. Mission Impossible has nothing on this. Like, woohoo!
With that high drama behind us, we headed down the Caribbean coast with Lucy Cook to visit another British scientist. Becky Cliff is conducting the first population study of sloths ever. That might seem like low-hanging fruit. It is not.
Why is it so hard to get scientific data on sloths?
They've evolved over the last 64 million years to be masters of disguise, right? They are so good at pretending to be coconuts and bird nests, then they're hiding from the very people who are trying to help them.
Neither of the sloth species in Costa Rica is officially considered endangered. But Cliff says her staff is suddenly seeing fewer sloths, and some are suffering from an illness she suspects may be related to climate change.
We're getting extreme periods of hot, dry weather, and then extreme periods of prolonged cold and rain. And that is not what sloths have evolved to survive in. What we're discovering is that the microbes in the sloth's stomach that they use to digest the leaves they eat, when the sloth gets too cold, those microbes die. So even though the sloth might be eating and looking well, it's not digesting its food properly. So they're losing energy and they're getting very weak.
It sounds like they're starving to death, but with a full stomach.
That's exactly it. Yeah. It's a really strange phenomenon that I think only happens in sloths, but it's happening here.
For Cliff to collect data, she has to collect sloths.
Which branch is she?
That's the full-time job for her colleague, Debar Leon. He climbed barefoot up a 3-story high tree covered in biting ants, snatching the sloth, then lowering it in a bag.
Come on, little one. Hi. That's impressive. So do you have to do that every time you want to get a sloth down?
And this is easy, yeah.
The stuffed sloth she's holding is not a gimmick. It was used to comfort the real one, as we helped replace a memory chip in a tiny backpack the sloth wears.
Oh, you're very strong.
Very strong. And then lean her back a little bit. Come on, sweetie.
I'm going to clip those little things up.
This is like dressing a baby.
Yeah. Done. Wham bam.
What kind of information does this give you?
We collect a lot of manual data in terms of what type of tree she's in, how high in the tree she is. There's also a data logger inside here, which collects a lot of information about her behavior. So even her micro body movements are being recorded inside there.
There we go. Yeah, that's a girl.
32 sloths will get backpacks and be returned slowly to the wild. Lucy Cook told us she hopes this study will provide a deeper understanding of an animal we can be too quick to judge.
What can we learn from the sloth?
We can learn how to be more slow and sustainable ourselves because we need to. You know, we're destroying this planet at an alarming rate. And part of that is because of our addiction to speed and convenience. So if we took a few carefully, slowly digested leaves out of the sloth's book, you know, we might save this beautiful planet and all of the amazing creatures that live on it.